I'm currently writing a romance novel and I set a goal to finish the full first draft by April 1st. It has been a huge journey of ups and downs. I've completely trashed my work, moved around scenes and chapters, and done just about everything except for start over. This week I made the very big decision to rewrite the majority of what I have so far, which is about 35,000 words. If you're new here, my name is Sophia and I am currently writing the very first draft of my debut romance novel. It will be a rom-com. We're calling it Project Heat right now, and these are the vibes. So obviously, first of all, at 35,000 words on March 28th, there was just about no way that I was going to hit my goal. And a big part of this is because I had restarted in February and completely trashed everything that I had. So to take it back to the beginning, for starters, I have a degree in English. I studied it. I studied the craft of writing in college and I absolutely love it. However, after college, I spent 2.5 years working in a completely different field of marketing and public relations. And I really lost touch with a lot of those skills and just everything that I had learned and picked up. I just kind of was utilizing my skills with writing in a completely different way. I wasn't really reading a ton, and a lot of that stuff kind of just like slipped away and like faded into the background of my mind. That like creative writing part of my brain has just been kind of shut down for a while now. And so when I started writing this draft in the beginning of this year, I knew that it wasn't gonna be great, and I knew it was gonna take time for me to find my flow again and for all of that stuff to kind of turn back on and to get like the juices flowing again. I kind of just realized that my story was missing so many key elements. A lot of the emotional drivers were there, but stuff like the stakes, how well I really knew my characters, and just like the beats and the structure of the story itself was just not really clicking. And if I'm going to write this book, I really want to do it the right way. I know that I have the skills and knowledge to do it the right way. Obviously, no first draft is going to be perfect, but a big goal of mine for this first draft was that I would be able to print it out, hard copy, and kind of go through it that way for creating my second draft. And I just didn't feel like that was going to be possible with what I had so far, because basically the first like 15,000 words made no sense. And then the second like 15 to 20,000 words actually clicked. It just felt like it would make so much more sense for me to take it back to the beginning, give myself the opportunity to really deeply learn my characters and frame out all of the beats of the story so that I could start from chapter 1 and give it another go. So all of this being said, today I am going to be taking you along with the continued journey of me restarting this draft. So let's get into it. So, to be clear, the main romance plot, the conflict, the character traits, all that good stuff is not going to be changing. What is going to be changing are a lot of the key story beats, some key elements of the inciting incident, and all of the events that are kind of like forcing the characters together in tandem with their emotional drivers. That being said, there are a ton of scenes and dialogue that I definitely want to keep because it was written later when I had kind of already gotten into the swing of things and felt out a lot of this stuff. So I was going to do that. I was going to go through this in this video, but this week has just been so chaotic. So throughout the course of this week, I did go through and pick out all of the scenes. There were a couple like whole chapters, dialogue, everything that I knew I could keep, and I kind of organized those into where they would fit in my outline. So with that, I will be actually starting off with 15,000 words. So that is really great and just a good starting point to have. So I'm not really completely starting from scratch. Like all the pieces that fit together in my story are relatively still the same, but the order in which they happen, the beats, and the actual drivers that are happening in each chapter are what are going to be changing and just much more defined. Because of how in-depth this is going to be and how confident I am already starting to feel as I better get to know the plan for the story and my characters, I do feel pretty confident that I can finish the first draft much quicker than I was before. My pace was all over the place, and I do think that that had a lot to do with the fact that I felt a little bit lost every time I was looking at my computer. And like I said, a big vision for me for finishing this first draft was that I would be able to print it out and like have a physical copy of it And honestly, part of me did really want to just push through and try to finish it for the sake of hitting my goal and for the sake of being able to say, hey, I did it, but I'm gonna do it anyway, so I might as well do it right. So the main thing that I need to do today in this video with you guys is I really need to just continue to build out my outline. And once I have that, I can start kind of just hitting the ground running. I have already started to get to know my characters a little better beyond their like character sheets, and so I really want to work through my outline. I have the bare bones of it, but I really want to go more in depth, especially for the first couple of chapters, so that when I sit down to write, I can feel really confident in just the way that the chapter is going to pan out, because I know that when I do have a really in-depth outline, I can usually write chapters relatively fast, like within less than 2 hours. So that would be really, really great. So for the outline for this story, I kind of did a little bit of a mix. I mixed the 27 chapter outline, which is kind of like a 3-act structure, with the romancing the beats structure. It's like a structure for romance novels. I will include that in the description below as well. And so I kind of like molded those together into my own outline that made sense for driving the story forward. And in doing that, I have a total of 29 chapters planned out. And when I say planned out, so far all I really have for that is like a couple of sentences that are, you know, driving what's going to happen in that chapter. So what I want to do today is really dig into those and make sure that every single chapter has the specific elements and beats for moving the story forward, moving the romance forward, the conflict, the subplots, all of that good stuff. I want to make sure that each chapter is going to be driving that forward in a very intentional way. So I am gonna get into that and probably spend a couple of hours just building that out. And then hopefully I would honestly love to just get back into writing today. I've had a super busy past 2 weeks. I didn't even upload last week because it's just been so chaotic. I have really taken quite a bit of time away from my book, but honestly, I feel like I'm coming back with such a fresh mind, and I'm not really upset or anything that I didn't hit my specific goal. I feel like this is 100% the right thing for me to do because I really want to make sure that I do this right. I'm excited to get back into it. I'm gonna get started on just digging into my outline and making sure that it's really strong, especially for the first act. And hopefully after that, I can start to write a little bit because I am really dying to get back into my story. So I really built out the outline for the first like 10 chapters, which is the majority of the first act. So I feel really, really happy about that. And I also threw in a bunch of notes, and I also organized stuff from like my random ongoing brain dump that I have on my phone that I wanted to add in, of just like random like lines of dialogue and stuff that come to my mind throughout the week. I also made sure that all of the big pieces of internal monologue, the scenes, specific pieces of dialogue, and whole chapters that I wanted to make sure that I saved and included, that like 15,000 words that I had, that I was able to organize that accordingly. So that is already in my draft in all the right places. So that is really great. And it just gives me a little bit more of a boost when I open up my computer, because I know that I'm not actually completely starting from zero, because that is not always the best feeling. Yeah, I'm just feeling really excited. I feel so much more confident in this, and I think the lessons that came from trying to write the first draft the way that I did were super helpful, because it got me back into reading books about the craft of writing, and it also just like reminded me that yes, I have learned a lot and I am super educated on this craft, but I also have so much to learn. So it was just a really good refresher, and I just feel so much more confident in the structure of the story and just all of the pieces that come together. To give you guys more context, I know I don't always share a ton about Project Heat, but the main conflict that was kind of pushing my two love interests together just felt maybe a little forced is the right way to put it. It just felt like unrealistic. A big part of why I wanted to restart is because obviously so much of that takes place in the first part of the book. And so I just felt like if I didn't fix that before continuing, it was just gonna make writing so much more difficult as I got further in the book, because the setup just wasn't really like done the right way. Hopefully that makes sense. If you're a writer, maybe you understood that. But basically like the setup of my book and like the setup of how the characters come together was just like not quite there. And obviously, like I said, with that, a lot of the beats and structure elements that followed that were also just not really planned out correctly. So that is a big part of why I did this and what I fixed. But as you guys know, I do love a good goal. So instead of trying to finish the full first draft by a specific date, I am just going to kind of do my best to make sure that I sit down and write every single day. And I think after the next like week or so, I might come up with a specific date, but I'm also not really sure. I feel like I do thrive under pressure, but when it came to writing, I feel like I gave myself such a hard deadline that I was only really writing when the camera was on and when I was documenting it, which is like not a bad thing. But I feel like a lot of the magic and fun that comes along with writing happens at like the middle of the night when I like whip out my computer with a really good idea and want to write. And I wasn't really allowing myself to do that because I was so focused on documenting this process. All that to say, obviously I still will be making videos about this, but I really want to just make sure that I'm giving myself the opportunity to write without it feeling forced, without feeling like I need to put makeup on and do my hair and go get the camera and everything. So I definitely want to kind of remove that pressure and just kind of let myself really have a lot of fun with writing, because that is why I started doing this in the first place, because I do truly love it and feel so passionate about it and this specific story. So yeah, also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did a little bit of a refresh on my office. I will show you when it is fully complete because I need my husband to help me drill a couple more things into the wall. But I did a new paint job. I got like a new little chair over here, moved some stuff around. So I'm really excited for that and just makes me super excited to make more videos here. I'm hoping to make just some more like informational videos talking about writing and reading. I definitely want to make some book videos because I've been reading a lot. But yeah, I feel really excited. As you guys know, I kind of did like a 12-week year thing that is about to end. I'll be talking about that probably in my next video, but I feel really excited because I hit a lot of my goals and worked really hard. And even though I didn't finish my first draft by the date that I intended to, I feel like I'm really taking the right steps and using this as a giant learning experience to keep moving forward, because I really do want to take the traditional publishing path and I want to make sure that I'm putting my best work out there when the time comes for me to start that process. And I feel like that does start in the first draft. I know everybody says to just keep going and finish for your first draft, but this just felt like the right thing to do. So I'm really excited to get back into this and do things right. And I'm just really grateful that you guys have been following along on this journey, and it just really means a lot to me. So if you have been following along, thank you so much. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok @BySophiaLynn to keep up with the more day-to-day stuff with my writing journey and books and all of that good stuff. And if you haven't already, I would of course appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. There will definitely be much more fun videos coming soon, lots of writing challenges and book content. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. All that being said, guys, I am literally going to log in right now and see how much writing I can get done over the next couple of days without turning on the camera, without trying to hit a specific goal or do a challenge. I'm just gonna kind of go with it and go with the flow. So hopefully next time I tune in, I have more to share about this rewrite process. So I will talk to you guys then. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.